Good evening. The Prime Minister has called out the opposition's intellectual dishonesty over the farm laws, saying they're making a U-turn to serve their political interests on the same reforms they promised themselves in their election manifestos. We'll get you all the details of the PM's interview to the Open magazine on Newsnight tonight. I'm Gautam Roy. We'll also be talking about how the army chief has expressed concern over the Chinese armed forces build-up along the line of actual control during a visit to eastern Ladakh, saying the Indian Army is keeping a close eye on their movements and matching them step by step. But first, our headlines. Chief of Army Staff General M.M. Narwane carries out a comprehensive review of India's preparedness in eastern Ladakh, says increased Chinese presence along the LAC is a matter of concern, assures that the Indian Army is matching them in terms of infrastructure and troop deployment. India adds more firepower to the eastern sector standoff with China. First ever regiment of K9 Vajra self-propelled howitzers deployed in Ladakh with a strike range of 50 kilometers. The induction adds stinging firepower to the Indian artillery in the region. Prime Minister Narendra Modi takes on the opposition for raising questions on the three farm laws, terms that stand intellectual dishonesty, in an interview to Open magazine. Says those promising the same reforms in their election manifestos are taking a U-turn to serve their political interests. Expresses commitment for backing small farmers and says he's ready to discuss issues of disagreement. Keeping in view the interest of farmers, the centre decides to start procurement of paddy in Punjab and Haryana starting Sunday. The government says the decision is in the overall interest of farmers and will ensure quality procurement for millions of consumers under PDS of National Food Security Programme. Prime Minister Modi interacts with Gram Panchayats and village water and sanitation committees on Jal Jeevan mission, launches Jal Jeevan mission app for improving awareness among stakeholders, calls Jal Jeevan mission a big movement of decentralization, says it's a village-driven, women-driven movement. The nation is celebrating Gandhi Jayanti on the occasion of the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. President leads the nation in paying rich tributes to Bapu. Events held worldwide to mark the International Day of Non-Violence on the occasion. And the United States crosses the grim milestone of 7 lakh coronavirus deaths. National case count tops 4.36 crores. Good news in the fight against COVID-19, though drug maker Merck's experimental oral drug reduces by around 50% the chance of hospitalization or death among patients of coronavirus. Well, first up, Prime Minister Modi has spoken about his humble beginnings and trajectory of life in an interview with English weekly magazine Open after 20 years of public service. He's also taken on the opposition for its criticism over the agriculture laws, calling it intellectual dishonesty, saying he's committed to empowering small farmers in every possible way.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi hit out at the opposition for their doublespeak on the farm laws and various other issues like GST, Aadhaar, and also on crucial matters such as arming the country's security forces. In an interview with Open magazine, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that if you look at those who are opposing the pro-farmer reforms today, you will see the real meaning of intellectual dishonesty and Rajnitik Dhokhadhari, or political deceit. Prime Minister added that these were the same people who wrote letters to chief ministers asking them to do the exact same thing that our government has done. These were the same people who wrote in their manifesto that they would enact the same reforms that we have brought in. Prime Minister also said that we are committed to empowering the small farmers in every way. The farm laws about which you are talking, the government has been saying right from the first day that on whichever point there is a disagreement, the government is ready to sit together and discuss those issues. PM added that you will see the same Rajnitik Dhokhadhari or political deceit when it comes to Aadhaar, GST, farm laws, and even crucial matters such as arming our security forces. promise something and make arguments for it, but oppose the same thing later without any moral fiber. Prime Minister also said that I attach a big importance to criticism. I, with an honest mind, respect critics a lot. But unfortunately, the number of critics is very few. Mostly people only level allegations. The people who play games about perception are more in number. Asked if he is not worried about the consequences of some of the tough decisions taken by his government, Prime Minister said that the politics of our country is such that till now we have seen only one model in which governments are run to build the next government. My fundamental thinking is different. I believe we have to run the government to build the nation. The tradition has been to run the government to make your party win, but my purpose is to run the government in a way to make our country win. And due to this basic concern, I take decisions based on Gandhiji's talisman that sees how much my decisions will benefit or harm the poorest or weakest person. On lessons learned from the COVID pandemic, PM said that the biggest lesson for us from the COVID-19 fight has been that India has an unparalleled ability to unite, find a common purpose, come together, and a tremendous capacity to deliver when a need arises. Asked about a satisfying change seen in the country, Prime Minister said that earlier sportspersons used to worry about lack of facilities, support, etc. These were things they could not do anything about. But now they feel that part is sorted, and their whole focus is on things they can control, and their thirst for a medal has taken center stage. They had a sense of satisfaction that the country has supported them and the determination to do something extraordinary for the nation and bring home some medals in the time to come. This change is satisfying. Bureau Report, DD India.
The Indian Army Chief, that's General M.M. Narawane, has said that increased Chinese presence along the line of actual control is a matter of concern for India. While carrying out a comprehensive review of India's armed preparedness in the eastern Ladakh region, the Army Chief said that the Army is monitoring all activity and is matching the Chinese in terms of their infrastructure and troop deployment. A regiment of self-propelled K9 howitzers has also been deployed in the area for the same reason.
In the backdrop of prolonged military standoff with China, Chief of Army Staff General M.M. Narawane carried out a comprehensive review of India's operational preparedness in forward areas of eastern Ladakh on Friday. Narawane has said that increased Chinese presence along the LAC was a matter of concern for India. He added that Indian Army is monitoring their activity and matching them in terms of infrastructure and troop deployment.
The Chinese have deployed in considerable numbers all across eastern Ladakh, and not only in eastern Ladakh but all across the northern front, right up to our eastern command also. So definitely there has been an increase in their deployment in the forward areas, which remains of course a matter of concern for us. But we are regularly monitoring all their movements, and based on whatever inputs we get, we are also carrying out matching developments both in infrastructure as well in terms of the troops that are needed to counter any threat. So we are, I think, at the moment quite well poised to meet any eventuality.
China and India have had 12 rounds of de-escalation talks, and the 13th round is expected within a week to shoot down tensions on their contested Himalayan border.
We are hopeful to have the 13th round of talks very soon, perhaps as soon as next week, that is the second week of October. We are confident that as we discuss things with each other, and we will be able to reach consensus on how this disengagement is to take place, and by all the friction points will get resolved.
On the Western Front, General Narawane said that there were 2 fresh cases of ceasefire violations by Pakistan along the line of control in the past 10 days, in defiance of their February accord with India to reiterate the 2003 ceasefire agreement.
In the last week or 10 days, there have been now 2 ceasefire violations also. So definitely it shows that the situation is not static and is now regressing to what it was earlier, pre-February days. we have conveyed through hotline messages and through the DGMO level talks that take place every week that this does not augur well for the understanding that we have, and they should not give support to any such activities.
As a result of a series of military and diplomatic talks, the two sides completed the disengagement process in the Gogra area last month. India has added more firepower to the eastern sector standoff with China. The first ever regiment of K9 self-propelled howitzers has been deployed at the area. K9 howitzers have a striking range of 50 kilometers and their induction has added stinging firepower to the Indian artillery in the mountainous region.
Those field trials were extremely successful. We have even carried out firing with these guns. That was also very successful. And once that was proven, then we have inducted an entire regiment, and that will definitely add to the firepower.
The Indian Army is prepared for any eventuality in any one or both the sectors. The morale of the soldiers is high, and continued induction of the latest weapon systems and ammunition shows that the military might matches that of the adversary. With inputs from Nandita Dagar, Bureau Report, DD India.
Let's paint you the big picture now about the readiness of the Indian Armed Forces when it comes to taking on any challenge along the borders is concerned. This is just a small part. The K9 Vajra is what we're showing you on the screen here. But if you look at what the overall picture is, then of course we'll top it up and start it off with the howitzers itself, the readiness of Indian Armed Forces. If you talk about K9 Vajra, it's a self-propelled howitzer regiment that's now been deployed in Ladakh. Now, the K9 Vajra can strike targets, well, the max range can go up to 50 to 55 kilometers as well, accurately. It's a tank-like tracks that it has, so it has all-terrain capabilities. Its top speed, max speed, is up to 67 kilometers per hour. That is quite fast and works at high altitudes as well. And it gives armored cover to at least 5 soldiers. Now, it was in 2018 that it was inducted into the Indian Army. It's been built by Larsen & Toubro in a tie-up with a South Korean armed forces firm. Now, this is just a part of the entire arsenal that India has, MTB Arjun Mk1A. Now, the 14th of February 2021, Valentine's Day, PM has handed over the tank to the Army Chief, General Naravan himself. It was an upgraded version of the Arjun tank with 72 new features as well. It's got more indigenous content compared to the Mk1 version. It's got effortless mobility in all terrains as well, just like the howitzers. Now, precise day and night target engagement is also a capability that it has. It's also got invincible multi-layered protection, and it uses an array of advanced tech systems to give that protection to this weapon system. If you talk further about the readiness of the Indian Armed Forces, well, the Army has got US-made rifle 6Rs. The US-made rifle 6R is among the world's best rifles. It has an effective kill range of 600 meters. And it's an ambidextrous rifle, which means that you can use it with either hands. Both lefties and right-handers can use it, with a corking that is from behind the rifle butt. It also has 6 adjustable positions, and therefore it becomes handy in operations, also in anti-insurgency operations. Now, further on, if you talk more about the readiness of the Indian Armed Forces, well, if you talk about Naval Anti-Drone System, the NADS is the first indigenously developed one. It can detect and jam micro drones as well. It uses a laser-based kill mechanism to terminate targets, and it was first used during this year's Republic Day parade, to ensure that everything is safe and secure. Now, if you further talk about the readiness of the Indian Navy, INS Chakra, it's a Russian-made nuclear submarine. It was leased from Russia for a period of 10 years, and it will join the Indian fleet around 2025. Furthermore, if you talk about the Navy again, INS Vikrant, India's first indigenously built aircraft carrier. It takes India into a select club or band of 7 countries, and India then joins the US, UK, France, Russia, Italy as well as China. Now, INS Vikrant is 262 meters long, 62 meters wide at its widest point, and the depth of 30 meters is also there, minus its superstructure. It's designed for a crew of around 1,700 personnel. So that's the kind of firepower they could back up as well. CH-47F Chinook, if you talk about the Air Force now. Now, on the 25th of March 2019, 4 US-made Chinook heavyweight and heavy lift helicopters, in fact, formally got inducted into the Air Force. They're multi-role vertical lift platforms, primarily used for transporting troops, artillery, equipment and fuel. They can carry 9.6 tons of cargo, including artillery guns and light armoured vehicles. Furthermore, if you talk about the readiness of the Indian Air Force, AH-64E Apache, it's the world's most advanced multi-role combat helicopter. It's flown by the US Army and it has got improved target acquisition and designation system. It provides day and night target tracking to this weapon system. Now, furthermore, if you talk about the Air Force, again, the Rafale fighter jets, much talked about, multi-role fighter aircraft. It's known for air superiority and precision striking, and it can carry a range of potent weapons as well, including missiles. Furthermore, if you talk about again the readiness of the Indian Air Force, C-295AMW. Now, September 2021 is the procurement of 56 of these aircraft. Transport aircraft was cleared by the CCS. These transport aircraft of 5 to 10 ton capacity with contemporary technology are set to replace the aging Avro aircraft of the Indian Air Force. More about the Air Force, it's a long list. Akash Prime missile, which has been successfully tested as well. It's equipped with indigenous active RF seeker for better accuracy. Even more, Nag anti-tank guided missile, which is designed to neutralize highly fortified enemy tanks. And you cannot forget the Tejas, single-engined, lightweight, highly agile, multi-role supersonic fighter aircraft. So these are just some of the things that we can talk about right now. It's an even longer list, a lot of things that we've left out because of the lack of time, but that again brings up what we can talk about to our guests, which is the state of readiness of the Indian Armed Forces to take on any challenge at any sort of a confrontation theatre, be it on land or at water or in the air. Let's talk about what we have for our In Focus tonight. Well, India adds muscle on the border and in other places as well. That's what we're talking about tonight. Let's introduce our guests to you as well. That's the In Focus for tonight. India rapidly boosts its defences. And let's just introduce our guests as well. We have Major General Dhruv C. Katoch, retired Director, India Foundation, and we also have RSN Singh, well-known strategic expert. Good evening to both of you. If I could first come to you, General Katoch, what do you make in terms of what the Army Chief had to say about how the Chinese have deployed their troops and their other, armaments along the line of actual control? He said it's up till the Eastern Command.
Thank you. In my view, I think the Chinese threat is very real and it is very potent. So it is a good thing that from last year itself, as soon as the threat manifested itself, India did two things, the Indian Armed Forces. One, the Air Force was deployed, and secondly, of course, a very large-scale army deployment also took place. Now, I think both these aspects, when they took place, it surprised the Chinese. They did not think that this would happen. And as of now, we have not reduced that deployment in any way. So there is a mirror deployment to whatever the Chinese are doing. Now, in my view, I don't think the Chinese will really go for an offensive operation. I think perhaps it is a bluff. And one of the reasons I have a feeling that it is a bluff is they don't have, as of now, the capability to win either a ground war or an air war, okay, especially from the Air Force side. I don't think they have the capacity to win a war. And if they go in for a conflict and the air forces are employed, I think they will be battered very badly. So simply talking about that, I don't think a conflict is going to take place, but the threat of a conflict remains. And I think what China is doing now is messaging. They are trying to give a message to India to perhaps slow down on what is happening on the Indo-Pacific as far as the Quad is concerned.
Okay.
Now, I don't think that is going to happen. India is not going to be cowed down. We have told the Chinese last year, we'll tell them again this year. And if push comes to shove, I think the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force are ready to take on any threat in the mountains. And the Indian Navy will do likewise as far as the Indian Ocean region is concerned.
Okay, another question to you, General Katoch. In terms of how India is responding, a whole regiment of these K9 howitzers, what kind of a message does that send to the Chinese?
You see, as far as the howitzer gun is concerned, I think there are two things which must be made very clear to the audience. The most important message is this is a made in India product. And I think, after we got the Bofors gun, after a very long time, we have inducted something of our own. The Bofors, as it is, was a Swedish gun, which we manufactured and was supposed to manufacture under license. Now, this time we have made it, it is our own people who have got together, and practically every aspect of this weapon has been designed and made by us, albeit with cooperation. Now, I think so long as you are making your own guns, your own ammunition, this itself sends a very powerful message. Secondly, using a weapon of this nature, which has a range of 50 kilometers in high altitude areas and which can operate under any weather conditions, I think that is a very important message again.
And it's highly mobile.
That is the third aspect I wanted to come to, because you see, once you fire the gun and you want to change your position, I think here, because it is a self-propelled gun, it carries its own ammunition. You fire from one point, you go to the alternate position, you fire from there, go to the third position. It becomes very difficult for the enemy to target you. This is a very, very potent weapon, and combined with the other systems that we have as far as surveillance and reconnaissance capacity and capability is concerned, and our own air capability, I think when we go for if push comes to shove and it comes to a conflict, I think we are well placed to beat the Chinese this time again.
Okay. Let's talk about the overall messaging now, Artisan, saying apart from what is happening at the LAC, there is, of course, India and Quad, although Quad has now not been given a military definition, but it is taking cooperation to another level between these four countries, where combating challenges of the 21st century is concerned, the disruptive challenges of the 21st century, where, of course, China is also trying to say that, we are also bringing a lot of capabilities to the world, and then that is another level of competition that we're seeing.
No, I think what General Katoch has said, that military interface and strategic interface with China has two vital components. One is at the land and the other is at sea. That is, the Indo-Pacific region. And I have always believed that the standoff that took place in Kalwan was to scare India or cow down India from, the moves that we have made as far as Indo-Pacific region is concerned. The future of the world lies in the Indo-Pacific region, and it's one of the biggest areas of focus of the Americans and like the Philippines, Australia, South Korea, Japan, and we are part of it. Not for any other reason, but if you look at the map, because there is a congruency of the strategic interest. Now, if you see the strategic messaging, I will, small things I must mention here. This issue of this huge, massive flag that we have watched there. I remember during the height of the crisis in the Pengongso area, the Chinese had put up hoisted a banner, several, I think more than 100 meters or so, if I correctly remember, which was picked up by satellite.
Okay.
There was a messaging, and so here is a strong messaging from our side. The other thing is that, today is a red letter day, I would say. This deployment of K9 regiment, if you look at the larger perspective, it's an harbinger of a totally new culture as far as weaponization is concerned. Because one, that there is an indigenous component. Importantly, there is a participation of the private industry.
Yes.
So it may just mean a Maruti 800 moment for India, let me tell you. And without the participation, if you can trust the private sector in all other areas, I see no reason why should you trust them. They are very, very patriotic people. They are the people who give you taxes. They are the which the country runs. So therefore, this talent that has been harnessed today, I am sure you will find, as I told you, you will find this momentum picking up. So to that extent, it is a red letter day for India. Remember, we had a weaponization culture. Take 65 war. The Pakistan was equipped with patent tank, American product, and we were firing 106 millimeter RPS at them, anti-tank weapons again American product. So we have to make a shift from this. So to that extent, it is a red letter day. And let me tell you, as far as Ladakh is concerned, there is a more experienced general, more sitting here.
Okay.
Sir, with that area is today teeming with troops and teeming with weapons. All those variety of weapons that you just, you enumerated.
Right.
All guns, new rifles, new helicopters, air cover, transport cover, you name it, AD guns, you name missiles, and what have you. So, I mean, look, we are a power, the only power in Asia which has the capability to contest China, and contest we must.
Yes, the other thing that General Narvane talked about is what is happening along the line of control as well at the Pakistani end. He said that things are regressing. General Katoch, what do you make of that?
You see, as far as Pakistan was concerned, we had an agreement which was signed between the two DGMOs in February this year, in which it very clearly said that there will be a ceasefire and both sides will respect it. Now, what Pakistan is doing is they are sending armed terrorists across to India, across the line of control. Now, in my view, if you send armed terrorists across or if you send drones across, it is a violation of the ceasefire. So yes. I think the time has come now to convey that message to Pakistan once again, that any such acts of sending terrorists or drones across the line of control or across the international border will be treated as an act of war and responded to accordingly. Now, that has to be the deterrent message. The political intent and the military intent, I think, has to be made very clear to Pakistan that we will not accept it. And I think that is one of the things which the army chief was trying to bring out, not in the words. He has to be very diplomatic in what he says. But I think unless we respond with great deal of force to what the Pakistanis are doing, they will continue and try these underhand methods of trying to destabilize Kashmir. For the first time now, you are finding Kashmir that when you go to all the hot spots which were there, I have got reports from people, senior citizens who have gone there alone in the evening hours, and they said this was unbelievable that you could do this in places like Lal Chowk. Mm-hmm. So the complete atmosphere has changed in the valley, and I think this is causing concern to Pakistan. We have to maintain the pressure. We have to tell them there are limits to our patience, and if they again violate the line of control, then I think Balakots and Balakot pluses will be in order along with surgical strikes. That should be the order of the day. And this time, I think even the Indian Navy needs to get involved and punish them.
Okay, the Navy as well. We'll see. But what also General Narvane mentioned was that this time round, Afghanistan is an X factor, still an X factor in terms of what are the possibilities, emanating from there although the Taliban, which was taken over there, says that it has no intent to target anyone or have people from within Afghanistan target anyone elsewhere other than their own soil. But we still don't know how things are shaping up, General RSN Singhs.
No, I mean, see what the developments that have taken place in Afghanistan. This spurt in jihadism was bound to happen in the subcontinent, and this spurt will continue. Remember that, because of this development, there is a whole world of, jihadism, an entire network administered by, a state called Pakistan, so-called state called Pakistan. So the reconfiguration is taking place, reorientation is taking place, and reorientation is now towards India. Because after having captured, after having walked into Kabul and taken over power, there are many groups, and the Americans, one of the US Congressional Committee reports has said, that there are 12 tanzeem, jihadi tanzeem active, out of which five or six are specifically, directed towards India. Now, these are the people, these jihadi tanzeem. Let's not tell them these are misguided people, handful of them. They're not. There is a whole industry. They don't know any other way of life other than jihad. So this is a reality which we will have to face and find solutions accordingly.
Right.
So I don't know. It can take form of Balakot. It can take form of many other forms. But this reality you cannot do away with, because there is an entire industry which they don't feel apologetic about actually in their concept of nationhood. Mm-hmm. So this is a threat which will, which is there, and this proxy, that is what he has mentioned. So there was very much on the cards that there will be a spurt on the LOC, and of course what General Katoch has brought out, because things have improved so much in Kashmir. I mean, Pakistan is desperate to undo things.
Right. Now let's also factor in the situation with the Chinese. How are they going to respond to this message, General Katoch, considering the kind of domestic situation there is in China as well, facing a bit of an economic energy crisis at the moment as well?
You see, as far as China is concerned, I would just like to make one thing clear. China has got a far bigger army and air force and navy. I grant all that. But the conflict is going to take place in the higher Himalayas. So when we are looking at the Himalayas, either in Arunachal or in eastern Ladakh, that is going to be the battleground. And the battle space, I feel the critical battle space is going to be the airspace over the Tibetan Plateau. Now, that is where we can match them and beat them. So the China will continue its psychological warfare, as Colonel RSN Singh has so correctly brought out, because that is what they do. They try to sort of psychologically browbeat you so that you withdraw and they don't have to fight. But we have said no. We will hold our positions, and if we have to fight, so be it. It is not that India wants to go to war, but if China wants to go to war, well, so be it. Then we will fight. But the critical battle, in my view, has to take place over the Tibetan airspace, not over the mountains. So this battle, when it takes place, is going to go 100 kilometers deep, right up to the Brahmaputra river, the Sangpo as it is called in Tibet, and the area between the Sangpo and the line of actual control. So that is about 100, it's a huge stretch of land. And that is where the critical battles will take place. The land battles will come later. We will handle the land battles, we will handle the air battles, but I think the messaging, the political messaging has to be given to China. That listen, it is a different army now, it is a different political dispensation now. I particularly like the comparison which Colonel RSN Singh made when you talked about the Vajra, and he said this is India's Maruti movement. Please take it from me, it is India's Maruti movement. You see, the revolution takes place on these things. Our car revolution and scooter revolution started from there, and see what has happened today. The same thing is going to happen in the defense industry, and we have to continue with this momentum.
Yes.
We have to give a very firm message to the Chinese. Listen, you threaten us, fine, but we will not bow down. If you want to fight, so be it. That, in my view, has to be both the political and the military message. And those are the statements which I feel. I think this sort of a message has come out from the army chief.
Well, certainly India is definitely indigenizing a lot as far as its weapons acquisition is concerned, and the private sectors come into it. These guns are made by L&T with the help of a South Korean firm is a big example of that, but there will be many more to come in, well, just a couple of years down the line. A lot of startups getting into the act as well, being nurtured and nourished by IDEX as well. So there's a lot to talk about really, but we're completely out of time. Right now the Chinese are saying that they don't want to be drawn into an arms race, and we'll really know about their stance when it comes to that set of talks that we've been having. 13th round, as General Narawane said, is going to be up next in the second week of this month itself, so we'll know more about their actual and true stand at that time. Thank you so much for joining us for the moment this evening, both RSN Singh as well as General Katoch. Now, the Prime Minister launched the Jal Jeevan mission app today to improve awareness among stakeholders of the mission to take tapped water to each home and making optimum use of rain and irrigation water. While interacting with the Gram Panchayats and village water and sanitation committees, the PM said since the launch of the Jal Jeevan mission in 2019, over 5 crore households have got water connections.
जल जीवन मिशन का विजन सिर्फ लोगों तक पानी पहुंचाने का ही नहीं है, ये डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन का, विकेंद्रीकरण का, उसका भी एक बहुत बड़ा मूवमेंट, ये विलेज ड्रिवन, विमेन ड्रिवन मूवमेंट है। इसका मुख्य आधार जन आंदोलन और जन भागीदारी है।
Ensuring robust water management, stopping the wastage of water and optimum use of rainwater and more recharging of groundwater is at the center of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's efforts to bring about a real change in the lives of millions in India. The Prime Minister interacted with Gram Panchayats and Pani Samitis, village water and sanitation committees on Jal Jeevan mission. The Prime Minister termed the adoption of the water mission by the people a major step in the direction of the empowerment of women. Addressing the gathering, Prime Minister said villages were part of the hearts of Bapu and Lal Bahadur Shastri ji. He expressed happiness that on this day, people from lakhs of villages across the country are organizing Jal Jeevan Samvad in the form of Gram Sabhas. The resolve of Gram Swaraj and Swachhata or cleanliness were dear to ideals of Bapu.
पानी का एक छोटा सा कुआं लोगों की प्यास बुझा सकता है, जबकि इतना बड़ा समंदर ऐसा नहीं कर पाता। ये बात कितनी सही है। कई बार हम देखते हैं कि किसी का छोटा सा प्रयास बहुत से बड़े फैसलों से भी बड़ा होता है। आज पानी समिति पर भी यही बात लागू होती है, और ये भी गर्व की बात है कि जल जीवन मिशन के तहत बन रही पानी समितियों में 50% सदस्य अनिवार्य रूप से महिलाएं ही होती हैं।
The Prime Minister also launched the Jal Jeevan Mission app for improving awareness among stakeholders and for greater transparency and accountability of schemes under the mission. This app will facilitate answering queries on the quality of tap water and its supply in the surveillance framework related to the scheme. Apart from this, the Prime Minister released 3 e-books, which includes an e-guideline and information related to water quality management. The Prime Minister noted that in just 2 years, more work has been done than was done in the last 7 decades. The Prime Minister said that since the launch of Jal Jeevan Mission in 2019, 5 crore households have been connected with water connections.
जिन लोगों पर लंबे समय तक नीति निर्धारण की जिम्मेदारी थी, उन्हें ये सवाल खुद से जरूर पूछना चाहिए था। ऐसे लोगों ने कभी गरीबी देखी ही नहीं थी, इसलिए गरीबी उनके लिए एक आकर्षण रही, लिटरेचर और बौद्धिक ज्ञान दिखाने का जरिया बन गई। इन लोगों में एक आदर्श गांव के प्रति मोह होना चाहिए था, लेकिन ये लोग गांव के अभावों को ही पसंद करते रहे। मैं तो गुजरात जैसा राज्य से हूं, जहां अधिकतर सूखे की स्थिति मैंने देखी है। मैंने ये भी देखा है कि पानी की एक एक बूंद का कितना महत्व होता है। इसलिए गुजरात का मुख्यमंत्री रहते हुए लोगों तक जल पहुंचाना और जल संरक्षण मेरी प्राथमिकताओं में रहे।
The Prime Minister called upon people to work on a war footing to ensure that Jal Jeevan mission reaches the untapped homes and villages. The Prime Minister also said that the present government has taken the initiative to make villages self-reliant by providing broadband facility, cleanliness campaigns, Ujjwala Yojana, Awas or housing and health facilities there. He said that Jal Jeevan mission and Pani Samitis are a key example of the central government's commitment to Gram Swaraj. Bureau Report, DD India.
And the PM also interacted with the Gram Panchayat and Pani Samiti members from Tamil Nadu. Listen in.
सुधा जी, अब आपके गांव में हर घर को नल से जल मिलने लगा है। पहले तो एक भी घर में नल कनेक्शन नहीं था। इसे माताओं बहनों का कष्ट जरूर कम हुआ होगा। आपका अनुभव क्या है?
சுதா அவர்களே, இதற்கு முன்னர் உங்கள் கிராமத்தில் ஒரு வீட்டிலும் குழாய் தண்ணீர் இருக்க முடியாது. இப்போது அனைத்து வீடுகளுக்கும் குழாய் தண்ணீர் கிடைத்திருக்கிறது. இதன் மூலம் நீங்கள் எப்படி உணர்கிறீர்கள்?
மாண்புமிகு முதல்வர், மாண்புமிகு பிரதம மந்திரி அவர்களுக்கே வணக்கம். எங்கள் ஊரில் ஒரு தெருவுக்கு 2 குழாய் தான் இருக்கும். இப்போ வந்து வீட்டுக்கு வீட்டு குழாய் கொடுத்துருக்கோம் சார். ஐயா, அதனால மக்கள் மகிழ்ச்சியாக இருக்கிறார்கள்.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, इसके पहले हमारे गली को 2 नल ही रहता था। अभी जल जीवन मिशन से हमारे ग्राम के 412 घरों को नल के द्वारा पीने का पानी मिल रहा है। इससे हमें बहुत खुशी हुई जी।
सुधा जी, मुझे कई वर्षों से मैं तमिलनाडु आता रहा हूँ, वहाँ से लोगों से भी मिलता रहा हूँ और मुझे हमेशा तमिलनाडु के प्रति बड़ा गौरव रहा है। और मुझे पता है आपके गांव का सिल्क बड़ा मशहूर है। कुछ उसके बारे में बताइए ताकि देश वालों को पता चले कि हमारे यहाँ गांव में भी क्या ताकत है। सुधा जी बताइए जरा।
சுதா அவர்களே, நான் அடிக்கடி தங்கள் தமிழ்நாட்டிற்கு வருகிறேன். உங்கள் ஊரில் ஆரணிப்பட்டு மிகவும் பெருமையாக உள்ளது என்று கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். இதை பற்றி தங்களின் கருத்து தெரிவிக்க முடியுமா?
ஆமாங்க ஐயா, எங்கள் ஊரிலே வந்து 20 வீட்டுகளுக்கு பட்டு தெரியும். ஆரணியிலே பட்டு தான் ஃபேமஸ். அதை ஏற்றுமதி உள்ளூர் நாட்டுக்கும் வெளிநாட்டுக்கும் ஏற்றுமதி செய்யுது சார். அதனால நாங்கள் பெருமை கொள்கிறோம்.
जी प्रधानमंत्री जी, हमारे यहाँ 51 सिल्क आर्नी सिल्क बनता है। यह बहुत मशहूर है। हमारे गांव के 20% के लोग यह सिल्क बनाने में लगे हैं। आर्नी सिल्क विश्व मशहूर है। इस सिल्क को स्वदेश और विदेशों में भी निर्यात होता है। इसे हम बहुत खुशी हूँ जी।
Now, the 152nd birth anniversary of the father of the nation was celebrated throughout the country and even worldwide. A number of programs were organized across the country to pay tribute to Mahatma Gandhi. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi all visited Rajghat in Delhi to pay tribute to the Mahatma. Programs were also organized in other parts of the country to remember Bapu.
October 2nd is celebrated as the International Day of Non-Violence every year to honor Mahatma Gandhi's path of non-violence. The nation paid rich tributes to Mahatma Gandhi on his 152nd birth anniversary on Saturday. A series of functions were organized across the country and by Indian missions abroad on the occasion of Gandhi Jayanti. An all-religion prayer meet was also organized at the Rajghat to pay tribute to Mahatma Gandhi. President Ramnath Kovind paid a floral tribute to Mahatma Gandhi at the Rajghat. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu also reached Rajghat and paid a tribute to Bapu. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also paid a floral tribute to the father of the nation at Rajghat in the national capital. Earlier in a tweet, the Prime Minister said, "I bow to respected Bapu on Gandhi Jayanti. His noble principles are globally relevant and give strength to millions." Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla also offered a floral tribute to Mahatma Gandhi on his birth anniversary. Congress interim President Sonia Gandhi also paid floral tributes to Gandhiji at Rajghat. Members of the Parliament paid tributes to Mahatma Gandhi at the historic Central Hall of the Parliament. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended a prayer meeting at Gandhi Smriti in New Delhi and paid tribute to Mahatma Gandhi and listened to bhajans. Various programs were also organized in other parts of the country. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh unveiled a magnificent statue of Mahatma Gandhi at the jetty of Kavarati Island, Lakshadweep. In Gujarat, a prayer meeting was held at Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad. BJP President JP Nadda visited Khadi India at Connaught Place and paid tribute to Mahatma Gandhi.
भारत के हमारे करोड़ों भारतीय जनता पार्टी के कार्यकर्ता स्थान स्थान पर खादी का उपयोग बढ़े, इसलिए खादी ग्रामोद्योग में आना, खादी को बढ़ावा मिले, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग खादी खरीदें और आत्मनिर्भर भारत की कल्पना को आगे हम कैसे बढ़ा सकते हैं और इससे भारत के अर्थतंत्र पर कितना आगे मजबूती प्रदान होती है, इस बात को समझने की आवश्यकता है।
Union Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal paid a floral tribute to Mahatma Gandhi in Dubai. Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan took part in the Padya Yatra in Jairat village of Angul district in Odisha. The nation also paid tribute to former Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri on his birth anniversary. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tributes to Lal Bahadur Shastri at Vijay Ghat on his birth anniversary. Tributes were also paid to former Prime Minister in the Central Hall of the Parliament. Lal Bahadur Shastri was born on October 2nd, 1904 at Mughal Sarai. He played a prominent role in India's freedom struggle. Bureau Report, DD India.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has also paid tributes to Mahatma Gandhi. In a tweet, he said, and I quote, "Hatred, division and conflict have had their day. It is time to usher in a new era of peace, trust and tolerance. On this International Day of Non-Violence, Gandhi's birthday, let's heed his message of peace and commit to building a better future for all." So as India observes the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, Indian embassies across the world also joined the nation in paying tribute to the father of the nation. Consulate General of India in Dubai, in a tweet, remembered Bapu on his 152nd birth anniversary. In Australia, High Commission of India, Canberra, paid floral tributes to Mahatma Gandhi, while in Kazakhstan, floral tributes were paid to Gandhiji by Ambassador Shubhadarshini Tripathi and other officials. In Beijing, Ambassador Vikram Misri paid floral tributes to Bapu's bust at Jintai Art Museum. Also, on the occasion of Gandhi Jayanti, the Indian ambassador to Russia paid floral tributes at Mahatma Gandhi's statue in the presence of Indian community and embassy officials in Moscow. And representing India virtually at the pre-COP26 meeting held in Milan in Italy from the 30th of September to the 2nd of October, Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bhupendra Yadav, assured that India will engage constructively at COP26 and evaluate bridging proposals to conclude the Paris Rulebook, which can be done by delivering on the climate finance promises of the developed countries. He highlighted that India recognizes the urgency of strong climate action in this decade to ensure that the world is on track to stay within the temperature goal of the Paris Agreement, as well as adapt to its impacts and minimize loss as well as damage. COP26 outcome must emphasize the need to plug the ambition gap by delivering the means of implementation support that will allow developing countries to enhance their climate actions. He further said that India strongly believes that the only way to deliver climate goals, particularly on mitigation, is through concrete action on speedy, assured and sustained finance. The pre-COP26 meeting was hosted by the government of Italy, like I said, from the 30th of September to the 2nd of October in Milan in the run-up to COP26. Now, keeping view of the interest of farmers, the centre has decided that procurement of paddy in states of Punjab and Haryana will begin from Sunday, that is tomorrow. The Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution believes that the decision to start the procurement of paddy is in the overall interest of farmers and consumers as well, so that to accept paddy stock to ensure quality procurement under PDS of National Food Security Programme. Union Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal and member of Executive Council of the Emirates of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Hamad bin Zayed Al Nahyan, co-chaired the 9th meeting of the UAE-India High-Level Joint Task Force on Investments in Dubai. Speaking at a press briefing at the Dubai Expo, the minister said that Sheikh Hamad and his team had appreciated all the efforts made in India to ensure satisfactory outcomes on all issues raised by the UAE.
The highlight of today's meeting was that when we reviewed all the decisions and discussions we had in 19 and the outcomes of that, we realized that we had nearly on both sides acted swiftly and ensured that all the decisions taken in the HLTI of 2019 were concluded satisfactorily on both sides. And Sheikh Hamid and his entire team, many of whom spoke during the meeting, individually and collectively appreciated the efforts made in India to ensure satisfactory outcomes on all the issues raised by UAE and the business persons of UAE.
The Union Minister for Commerce and Industry also met Chairperson and Managing Director Lulu Group, Yusuf Ali M.A. The Lulu Group Chairman hailed reforms in India brought in by Prime Minister Modi to encourage investments by non-resident Indians.
प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने हम नॉन रेजिडेंट इंडियंस के लिए बहुत बड़ा काम किया है। पहले नॉन रेजिडेंट इंडियंस को इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए बहुत तकलीफ था। अब बाद में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी आया है और डिक्लेयर किया है कि एनआरआई इन्वेस्टमेंट टू बी ट्रीटेड एज डोमेस्टिक इन्वेस्टमेंट। इसके लिए हमको कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। अभी फॉरेन इन्वेस्टर्स के साथ नॉन रेजिडेंट इंडियंस भी इन्वेस्ट करेगा हिंदुस्तान में। वो बहुत सारा लॉस चेंज किया है। इसके लिए हमारे लिए बहुत अच्छा है।
And Group Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of DP World and the Chairman of Ports, Customs and Free Zone Corporation, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulaim, praised the business environment in India. He said that the good thing about India is that when they decide to do something, it's done. He also said that he's interested in increasing exports with the expansion of ports. He also said that Make in India initiative is very important.
We are interested in expanding our ports. We're interested in industrial parks. We know how important India as a growth. The good thing about India, it is a country where once they decide, it's done. And that is something that attracts us a lot in India. With our synergy with our port, we can increase the export of India. And this is in line with Prime Minister Modi on the Made in India. This is very important.
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath honoured 75 policemen with the President's Vishish Seva Medal, Gallantry Medal and Chief Minister's Utkrish Seva Medal for outstanding service in the police department. The event was held at the police headquarters in Lucknow. Director General Prisons Anand Kumar was honoured with the President's Gallantry Medal and the Chief Minister's Utkrish Seva Medal, while ADG Law and Order Prashant Kumar, Kanpur Police Commissioner Asim Arun were also honoured with the Chief Minister's Utkrish Seva Medal. Director General Prisons Anand Kumar dedicated his medal to his colleagues.
ईश्वर की अनुकंपा है कि मुझे राष्ट्रपति महोदय का वीरता पदक और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी का उत्कृष्ट सेवा पदक मिला है। मैं परमपिता परमेश्वर का आभारी हूं और अपने मुख्यमंत्री जी का आभारी हूं जिन्होंने मुझे इस लायक समझा और मैं उनको साधुवाद देता हूं, धन्यवाद देता हूं। और ये पदक मेरे लिए नहीं है, ये उत्तर प्रदेश पुलिस के लिए है क्योंकि उत्तर प्रदेश पुलिस की बदौलत ही हम लोग आज जो भी कुछ हैं और जो भी हमारी सफलता है वो उत्तर प्रदेश पुलिस की वजह से है। तो हमारे जितने हमारे साथी हैं, सिपाही हैं, हमारे सब इंस्पेक्टर हैं, हमारे इंस्पेक्टर हैं, हमारा पूरा संवर्ग जो है उत्तर प्रदेश पुलिस का, वो इसका हकदार है।
Let's quickly get to some international news as well. US President Joe Biden is fighting to get approval of two key bills, not only from the opposition but also from within his Democratic Party. He hopes Republicans will not be irresponsible and refuse to raise the debt limit, but at the same time is working hard to get both bipartisan infrastructure bill and the wider reconciliation bill passed and bring progressives and moderates in his Democratic Party together.
US President Joe Biden promised on Friday that he and the Democrats in Congress would reach an agreement on two massive spending bills that form the core of his domestic agenda. The president urged his fellow Democrats in Congress to overcome divisions that threaten his agenda and pass legislation to bolster safety net programs, fight climate change and rebuild the nation's roads and bridges. The president traveled to Capitol Hill, an unusual practice for US presidents to mend divisions in his Democratic Party.
It doesn't matter when. It doesn't matter whether it's in 6 minutes, 6 days, or 6 weeks. We're going to get it done.
Fresh disagreements emerged among Democrats over the size of a multi-trillion-dollar companion bill that would fund health, education and climate measures. The social spending bill should cost about $2 trillion, a significant drop from the initial $3.5 trillion proposal. The $1 trillion infrastructure bill has already passed the Senate with bipartisan support.
It was really clear that we need to get both bills done, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to get both bills done.
The president acknowledged in a closed-door meeting that Democrats currently did not have enough votes to pass the two massive spending bills that have divided moderates and progressives. Members of the progressive wing vowed to block the $1 trillion infrastructure bill until they can be sure that moderates will not derail the bigger social spending and climate change bill. Moderates say that bill is too expensive.
I think if we get it done, it'll be a victory. The question is, when do we get that victory?
The Senate is split 50-50 with Republicans, all of whom oppose the multi-trillion-dollar bill, eager to deny Biden a policy victory ahead of the 2022 midterm elections. With a narrow majority in the House and every Democratic vote necessary for the passage, it is now to be seen when the president's mega plan to double spending on roads and other infrastructure will see the light of the day. Bureau Report, DD India.
So, least to say that a lot hinges on these two bills. Well, that's all we can pack in on Newsnight tonight, but all the latest for news right here on DD India. So, do stay with us.